Nat 20. Hi guys, Merlin here from Mad Merlins, and I'm coming back to you with another D&D Adventurer magazine video. So yeah, we're going to go through issue 1 more in depth this time though. I finished reading through it myself, and there's a lot to get through, but it is nicely broken down. I do suggest, if you're reading it yourself, take your time, read a couple of pages at a time, or complete an entire article section at a time. It's helpful, a lot to take in, but if you break it down for yourself, you should deal with it quite well. I'm still figuring out how we're going to play through the scenarios. I'm thinking I might be taking more of an overview point where I sort of explain what the DM and the characters are going to do in a certain situation. Film important events within the narrative, maybe live stream. That's something I could possibly do. I will have to have a look and see a few other people's videos at doing solo adventures, where it's just one person playing the DM and the characters, see what they've done. If you know of any, please let me know in the comment section down below. Finally, also, there is the Mad Merlins Patreon, where there is a dedicated partworks tier for anyone wishing to buy and support the purchase of future issues. Each month you can help by buying me an issue with the subscription. So yeah, the subscription is priced at a front cover issue. If you want to support, you can. If not, that is totally up to you. But if you do, there are many benefits. You'll get shout outs in the videos. Excuse me. You will also get the chance to join me at playing adventures. There is possibly a chance of me creating a Discord server as well. And there's, of course, all the other generic Patreon supports that I have going on all my tiers. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's dive into issue 1 and let's get rolling. So here we are back with issue 1 for a bit more of an in-depth review. So we'll go through the issue, we'll go through all the extra stuff, so our character sheets, our collection overview, and our introduction to combat, and we'll also take a look at our dice. So let's dive in. We'll take a look at the dice first of all, I think, and then we'll take a look through our issue. So I've brought my dice tray in for helping with this. So we get a beautiful tin with D&D Adventurer printed on top, so perfect for storing your dice. Inside we get dual layer foam, so we get a set with cutout sections for your dice, and underneath that is just a protective layer to help cushion the dice in transit. Yeah, these are really fantastic, nice finish to the dice, and yeah, they look a little clearer now than the first time I used them. I think it's because I got the brighter background of the dice tray there, but yeah, each one is perfectly picked out. So you got black with red, not the easiest of color combinations to read. I probably would have preferred red with black lettering, but yeah. So give each one a roll. Hey, look at that, nat 20. Yay. And then we have, of course, 2 d10s, one which is just 0 to 9, and the other one which is double 0 to 90, so this is used for our D100, where you would roll this plus this to get a particular total. So let's have a look. So we got 57 there, or if you wanted to, 750. But I don't think stats go that high, so yeah, we'll go with the 57. Next, of course, we have our good old standard D6. So unlike most wargame dice that have pips, these just have each side numbered. Not too bad, a 3 there. Yeah. We have a line underneath the 6 just to make sure we don't confuse it with any 9s, which on a 6-sided dice, I don't think there are any, are there? We have our D8, so these are like a double-sided pyramid, which gives us a number from 1 to 8. We get a 5, so that's not too bad. We of course then have our D12, so again 1 through to 12 here, and we get a 6. So yeah, we can see the 6 there, and there's a 9 with the little line underneath just to help us identify which one is which. And finally, our do not tread on this as it's quite painful dice, the D4, which is a triangular dice with 4 sides, with 1 on that corner, 2 on that corner, 3 on that corner, and 4 on that corner. And we get a 1. So yeah, really nice dice. The tray's nice. I am at the moment preferring dice we get from issue 2 as it's a little easier to read. The gold with white writing. So I'm probably going to be swapping them over into this tin. But yeah, that's the dice. So let's start taking a look through the magazine and paper details. We'll start having a look at the quick brief overview of the collection, and then we'll go through the issue. So let's take a look then through the overview of the collection. So we've got the website at the bottom, the trait, these company markings, so WizKids, Wizards of the Coast, and Hachette Partworks. And then we get a little bit of a breakdown on what the actual game is. So, at its heart, Dungeons & Dragons is a game played together with friends and family that focuses on storytelling. You decide how that story unfolds, from how your character looks like, to how your character acts, to what happens next. Together you guide your heroes through quests, battles with deadly foes, engage in intrigue, enact daring rescues, seek out treasure, and much more. Some features are common to every game of D&D. Take a closer look at this legendary fantasy game and find out why millions of players worldwide have stepped into the boots of mighty heroes to create their own stories. So yeah, we cover the basic elements here. So we need a dungeon master who is the storyteller. We need the players, who are of course the heroes. The character sheets, which gives you all your important information. So we have luckily some lovely pre-generated characters for the early parts of the collection. I believe there are future issues now with revealed on the Hachette website. I think they got to issue 9 and there is going to be a new character introduced, I think in issue 9, but he will be, they'll start looking at the race and class in issue 7. So yeah, pretty cool. And of course we need the dice. And optional, snacks and a drink to keep you going. So yeah. So what does the collection actually entail and what's inside the magazine? So in each issue of Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer, we'll explain the gameplay elements you need to understand how to successfully navigate this fantasy world. So we've got sage advice from the people who created and also expertly play D&D, simple explanations helping you understand basics of play, the world around it, and the like. We also have sections on character creation, so we look at the different species, the different classes, races, etc. And of course how to create your own characters. So we will be starting with pre-made characters, but I believe in future issues they will introduce you and allow you to create your own. And throughout the magazine it does actually encourage you to make your own at the D&D Beyond website. We got guides on combat, including weapons and their effects. We got the lore behind the setting, so whether it's being the world as a whole, a particular town, or a particular group of heroes like the Red Wizards. We also have sections exclusively for the Dungeon Master to help them become the best they can be. It's really good, really handy explanation set. And then we have sections for spell casting and learning how to use spells. We don't cover much in issue 1, but issue 2 we start looking at spells more. And finally, each issue does include an exclusive encounter, with the first of this being the King Under the Hill. And encounter 3 there, the Tower of Iron Will. So yeah, pretty good. And of course, throughout the collection you will be getting binders. You get one free for subscribing, which we'll have a look at in a minute on the back page of this. It explains the subscription gifts. But you can buy them each. They will be supplied to you. Will be priced at $10.99. A little pricey, as I've mentioned before. You can probably just get a cheap folder from Smith's or a stationery supplier, print off and stick down D&D Adventurers, and there you go, you got your storage. You won't get the dividers, which help break everything up, but with my experience in these collections, you will tend to end up with one folder for every section. I know Imperium had a bit more lore with it, so it's actually, I ended up with, I think, a folder and a bit of lore, and then build and paint guides again took up, build guides not too much, but paint guides definitely took up a good folder and a bit. But yeah, and then we have the collection, whatever extra bits you get. So, perfect collection for players new and old. If you've always wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons but didn't know how or where to start, this collection is the perfect step-by-step guide to the world's most popular role-playing game. Every issue will guide you through gameplay with easy-to-follow instructions that explain everything you need to know. If you've got multiple campaigns under your belt already, you're still sure to find inspiration from thrilling storylines in every issue, all while growing a collection of exclusively designed dice, miniatures, maps, and more. So yeah, as you may know from my previous video, issue 2, we actually get our first map of the surrounding Sword Coast area of Phandalin. And we get a second set of dice, which are not those ones, that's pretty orangey one, but a nice goldy yellow with glittery entails. We'll have a look at those, of course, in issue 2, and some nice white lettering. We also get miniatures, so issue 3 comes with miniatures for our first 4 characters. Hugh Grant. I don't really know any other. These guys don't really actually look like actors, but that guy just makes me think of Hugh Grant for some reason. It's just that smile. And that's how it started, that cursed smile. But yeah, we get our characters here in 2D form, at least, with a little standee to hold them up. We do get dice. I'm looking forward to that black and blue set. That is a fantastic set. I think that's issue 4 or 5 we get those. But yeah, we also get Adventures 2. So yeah, each adventure is color-coded. So Adventure 1 has red, black, and gold dice, which is issues 1 and 2. Adventure 2, so issue 3, issue 4 onwards, issue 5 onwards, I think, because issue 4 is a single D20. Issue 2, we get black and blue and silver focused dice. So yeah, pretty cool. And then we also get special pamphlets. So issue 1 comes with a tutorial on how to go step by step with fighting. And there are, of course, extras that will be given throughout the collection, including pouches, tins, miniatures, maps, booklets, and inspiration tokens. So yeah, everything you need to get yourself going with Dungeons & Dragons. So looking at the subscription, if you subscribe from any of the first 4 issues, you will receive a free issue with your first delivery. So I got the reduced price issue 2. So Issue 1 is currently in stores now for at least another week, which is $1.99 for the issue and of course the dice tin. Issue 2 is $4.99, which again comes with a set of dice and that beautiful map. So yeah, pretty good. I would have preferred starting from issue 2 and then getting one of the more expensive issues free, but I haven't had much luck finding things in my local stores of late. Imperium, the first 7 issues were in store, then there was a gap until issue 9 or 10, I think it was. And then I haven't seen anything since the 20s. Stormbringer was only around up until the 20s, so yeah, I wasn't holding out much luck. I haven't actually been anywhere lately to check if it is in store anywhere. But yeah, if you do find them in store, pick them up. I do suggest starting your subscription from issue 2 or even issue 3, or at least the very last of the starting subscription issues. So start from issue 4, which I did for Stormbringer. I started from issue 4, so I got issue 5 for free, which came in that exclusive model. But yeah, so your first delivery, you get a free issue, so the next issue on from whichever number you start at. And you also get the fantastic Dungeons & Dragons dice tray there, which we've already seen. It is easily one of my favourite dice trays, even on uneven surfaces. It manages to be pretty stable for your dice rolls. And yeah, third delivery, so issues 7, 8, 9, and 10, I think it is. You get a binder. I can't talk at the moment for some reason. A binder with dividers to help store your magazine. Our fifth delivery, we get that beautiful Dungeon Master screen with exclusive artwork from the collection. So yeah, fantastic. Perfect for all your DMs. It's got all your stats and stuff behind there to help you keep track of all your monsters and traps. Pretty cool. And then finally in our 7th delivery, so we get a fantastic little dice jail. No dice included, and I'm guessing it might be assembly required because it looks like it's an MDF laser cut kit where you just push the components out, file them down, and they push, fit, and lock together. So yeah, and then issue 2 we have, as I've mentioned, the bonus price of being $4.99. So yeah, issue 1 is available for 2 weeks. Issue 2 is available, and then after that it's weekly from issue 3. So that is pretty much the breakdown of the collection. So let's take a look through issue 1. So here we have issue 1. We start things off with a new exclusive adventure, expert tips, learn the lore, and become a dungeon master. Plus we have that rules pamphlet as well for combat. So in this issue we get our contents list. So adventure 1, King Under the Hill, sage advice. So we got overview section. So section A, the overview, let's play, the world of D&D and structure of play. Section B, the DM, so our first part about being a dungeon master. Character section, we have section A, overview, so introduction to players, ability scores, species, character classes, and equipment. And finally we have lore A, locations, Phandalin. We also have with this issue box, so what we get with this issue, so the first issue comes with an exclusive set of 7 dice that you'll use in your game, plus a tin, and you also gain a combat booklet as well as the structure of play featured in this issue. Finally, on the front cover then, we have a QR code which will take you to D&D Beyond, the official D&D website there. So yeah, the basics. Let's start with at the beginning. So, once upon a time, long ago, in a realm called the Midwestern United States, a group of friends who loved fantasy storytelling gathered together.
They were tired of simply reading tales about magic, monsters, and adventure, and wanted to play in those worlds. The system they created would forever alter the history of gaming. So it goes into a little bit of information here about the creators of Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, and it explains every game is run by Dungeon Master. There are fundamental basics that will be common throughout all games, but no game is ever going to be the same. So we got a little bit here more of the overview. So the adventure begins, goes over the player, the Dungeon Master, and of course the adventures. What I do like in the magazine is we got these top tips scattered throughout, which give you some handy little hints on how to best employ what you learn. And yeah. So next up then we got a little bit of background about the world of Dungeons and Dragons. So enter a world filled with strange magic, nightmarish monsters, and heroic quests. So yeah, this goes over more about the gameplay rather than the basic fundamentals. And yeah, so you go, it covers stuff like how you explore the world, what particular class and species you want to play, covers the different worlds like the Dread Domain and vampire-themed Ravenloft, the post-apocalyptic Dark Sun, and one I've actually played in the steampunk world of Eberron, all of which are part of the wider multiverse. And then we got a little bit here about this, how you decide. So we will be focusing on the Forgotten Realms, which is a land of high fantasy, most often referred to just as the Realms. And yeah, you will be integral parts to creating and expanding the story. So a Dungeon Master will of course describe the areas that your characters will find themselves in, and your characters are then allowed to do various actions. You can interact with DM, say, ask if you can interact with a stone carving and see if you can figure out anything from said carving. If you have specific abilities like the Hill Dwarf does, and able to read how a stone has been carved and whether it's a actual stone or a fake stone. Finally, at the bottom of the page then we have the origins. So the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons was the brainchild of game designers Gary Gygax and David Arneson. The duo wanted to combine their love of miniature wargaming, so moving miniatures around on a model battlefield to plan out military strategies, with fantasy. They also wanted to give players an ability to create their own characters, and so in 1974 they published the very first edition of Dungeons & Dragons. The game has evolved and expanded significantly in the last 50 years. But has retained many of the pair's core concepts. And we can see there part 1 of the 3-volume set, issued at $10, published by Tactical Studies Rules. So yeah, pretty cool. Moving on, we have the structure of play. So navigating your way through a D&D quest involves a variety of rules, which we will run through in each issue of Dungeons & Dragons Adventure, but the basic structure of play consists of the following 7 stages. So, stage 1 is deciding who out of your group will be the DM. Usually there'll be one person who prefers to be the storytelling element and will easily vote themselves to be the DM, or there's people like me who is happy to do both, really. I love playing as characters, but I also have a knack for storytelling and creating adventures. Stage 2, everyone else then will take on a hero. So we have 4 pre-generated characters to work with, but people are encouraged to create their own. And then we have the DM starts with stage 3. The story begins. The DM describes the location, events, the states the objectives of the players. They ask the players, collectively known as a party, to introduce their characters and to ask and answer any questions they may have. 4 players will describe their actions, so this can be anything from opening a door, taking a step outside said door, or even punching a person in the face for a rather rude comment about your nice pointy ears. 5, rolling a dice. So yeah, most of the actions will require a dice roll to discover the consequences or succession of that action. So yeah, the DM will often roll their dice secretly behind the Dungeon Master screen, whereas players are encouraged to keep all their dice rolls public so everyone knows. Sometimes a character may require to do a secret dice roll between them and the DM, so in that case they'll roll both behind the screen. And then, of course, the adventure continues. Next then, we have a little bit about your dice, so what we get. So difficulty class, depending on how hard a task is, depends on what sort of roll you'll need. So very easy, anything over a 5 to succeed. Easy a 10, medium a 15, hard is a 20, very hard a 25, and almost impossible with a 30. So somebody with a plus 10 modifier will definitely be able to do an almost impossible if they roll a 20. So here we go, covering ability checks, exceptions to the rules, how to make your saving throws, which will be detailed on your character sheet, attack rolls and damage, and a little bit about advantage and disadvantage, which will be covered in a future issue. And then we cover the dice. So as you navigate your way through this fantasy world, you use a set of dice to determine your actions, whether they succeed or fail. A standard set of dice contains a d20, a d12, a d10, a d8, a d6, and a d4, with each number representing how many sides that particular dice has. The d20, i.e. the 20-sided dice, is the dice you'll roll most often. If you see a number listed before the type of dice, that is how many times that dice will need to be rolled. So 1d8 means you roll a d8 once, 4d8 means you need to roll it 4 times, and so on. So yeah, pretty fundamental basics for any gameplay, really, any war game, role-playing game. Yeah, very handy advice, all the same. So, next up then, we take a look at the Dungeon Master. The DM brings the game of Dungeons and Dragons to life so that players can interact with the world and its communities and creatures. Our guide to being a great DM starts here. So yeah, this introduces you to the job of being a Dungeon Master. And every game is as good as the DM that runs it. So you want to act a part. A DM will play the roles of NPCs or non-player characters, as well as monsters and even a natural environment sometimes. So yeah. If an ability check is required by an NPC, the DM will roll the dice and yeah, see how it goes. So this is an advice section on how to get going with your gaming. So we start by looking at session 0. So session 0 is a fantastic thing that a lot of people tend to overlook. What it does is it allows you and your group to get together, cover certain things, including whether they want it to be very story driven or very combat driven. You can also cover things such as a person's phobia. Say, as it says here, if a person has a fear of rats, we can change the mission in this book to instead of having cranium rats, we'll have cranium cats. So yeah, it's a very good thing to do. It helps both you and your players know your limitations on gameplay. So yeah, another top tip here, so the tone of the game, whether they want it to be story-driven, humorous, light, or more hard-nosed and combat-focused. Then we got playing the game, telling a story and how to personalize it, how to balance a party. So this pre-generated team is pretty well balanced. And yeah, it's good to have that sit-down session to get things started. And then your dice roll sections for the Dungeon Master there, which, as we've mentioned, will usually be secret rolls. Moving forward then, we got an introduction in how to play characters. So before setting off on your adventure, you need to get into character.
It's not necessary. Some people will often just play themselves as a different race. But it's nice to sometimes add your own particular quirks to a character. How they talk, how they act, how they walk even. How you describe a character's actions basically gives a lot more to that particular character and helps bring them to life. So on the other side, we've got some outlines here for our characters. So let's take a look at Irina Iloris here, the Wood Elf fighter. So Irina has an excellent memory for maps and geography, and she is adept at finding food and water from the land. As a Wood Elf fighter, she's dressed for battle, although her green and brown armour blends into the woodland environment she calls home. Irina is an outlander background, meaning she grew up far from civilization. The wilderness is in her blood, and even in places where she doesn't know the specific terrain, she knows the ways of the wild. Often considered rude and uncouth among civilized folk, outlanders such as Irina have little respect for the niceties of city life. Yeah, it's nice. It covers the backgrounds of the characters, what they do, and a little bit of where they've come from. Next, we focus on ability scores. So the 6 ability scores in Dungeons & Dragons provide a quick description of every character's physical and mental characteristics. Is a character muscle-bound and insightful, brilliant and charming, nimble and hardy? Ability scores will define these qualities. So yeah, we look at the 6 basics abilities. So we have strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom and charisma. Each one we detail here what they particularly used for and even any associated skills, so a nice handy reference for those of you still getting used to things. So yeah, very handy. So we have ability scores and dice rolls here, rolling high scores, associated skills and proficiency bonuses are explained nicely here as well. So if a character has a proficiency in a particular skill, due to either the background or class, you'll see a P symbol next to that skill on their character sheet. So Irina has a proficiency in animal handling, athletics, intimidation, perception, and survival. So they get a +2 bonus, but these have already been factored in for our characters. Then we have modifiers depending on what you roll for your check. So we've got a nice little example here. If the DM asked you to make a dexterity ability check, you'd roll a d20 and add the dexterity ability modifier score on your character sheet. So -1 for Ryzagar or +3 for Irina. Next up, we take a look at the various species within the realms. So the traits of your ancestors provide you with abilities that can aid you in an adventure. So whether you're human, goblin, gnome, halfling, tiefling, or even the dragonborn, you are all part of the world and you will have, of course, your own distinct traits. And on the reverse, we go into a little bit about each one and some of their different abilities. So, as I mentioned earlier, hill dwarfs have the expertise in stone cunning. So this allows them to notice and understand stonework. So she can tell if something is disguised as a stone or whether the stone edifice is unsafe to climb, etc. At the bottom then we also have a little box about languages. So every character in the game will know the basic common language or lingua franca, which is the common tongue throughout the realms. And they will of course know the racial language they are part of, so Elvish or Dwarvish, and they may even know a few extras. Next up then we have our character classes. So choosing your career helps establish your role within the party, but will your day job define who you are, or can you be more than the deeds you perform? So you've got a basic understanding of your races and your species, etc.
Now you get to choose your particular character class. There are 12 main classes, and these include Barbarian, Druid, Paladin, Bard, and Ranger. There are, of course, also Fighters, Clerics, Wizards, and Rogues. So those are our four first level characters, and we'll be expanding them as we go through the collection. Yeah. So we got a little bit breaking down what each of our characters are, their class, and what they get to bring to the party, which is pretty cool. And finally, for our blue section then, we have equipment. So stock up on your equipment and gold pieces to help your character excel in their adventuring life. So yeah. Luckily, all our character sheets have everything written down on them. But if you're creating your own, you will need to look this up most often. But the website will help you pre-generate a lot of stuff anyway. So the armor depends on how good you are at fending off an enemy's attack. The weapons is how good you deal with range or close combat. And your currency here is gold pieces, the most common currency. So we take a look at the beginning packs for all our characters. So yeah, have a look at the Scholars pack here. So it contains a backpack, a book of lore, a bottle of ink and pen, 10 sheets of paper, a little bag of sand, and a small knife. So yeah, each one is tailored more specifically. So the Priest pack, you get a backpack, a blanket, 10 candles, a tinder box, an alms box, 2 blocks of incense, a censer, vestments, and 2 days worth of rations plus a water skin. So yeah, really handy. Nice that they've given even pictorial descriptions of what we get. So you even see the ration pack here includes cakes, bread, cheeses, stuff that will last pretty well in a out in the nature, and yeah, good to keep you well stocked. Next we have our first bit of background. So this is location of the town Phandalin. Nestled in the rocky foothills of the snow-capped Sword Mountains is the mining town of Phandalin. After years in ruin following an attack by orcs, new settlers have arrived, raising homes and businesses atop the rubble. It's a place where families build their dreams for the future and where heroes start their journeys. So yeah, I'm hoping we will get a map of Phandalin at a later stage, but if you have picked up the Dungeons & Dragons starter set or the essential set, I believe that does include a map of Phandalin ready for you to help in your adventures. So yeah, it was abandoned for hundreds of years until people started gathering again, hearing the rumours of gold in the hills. So yeah, then we got a covering section here at exploring Phandalin, nearby landmarks, and a little bit of a welcome section here. Finally, for our issue, we have our encounter. So this is Encounter 1, Scenario 1, King Under the Hill. So this encounter is a great introduction to the game. Players can use the 4 pre-created characters or create their own at dndbeyond.com/characters/builder. So it estimates this to take roughly an hour to 2 hours to play, depending on how well versed your team are and how well they get on. So yeah, all this really is for the Dungeon Master. We've got loads of top tips throughout. We've got maps which you can probably photocopy and put out for your players to be able to see where they are going to. If you can blow it up to be at least 1-inch squares, then you can put down your character models and help position them a lot better. So yeah, we got the beginning of the encounter. So we got a nice little introductory section here, which the DM will read out aloud. And then, yeah. Then we go through into our first turn where the players start making their actions. So we got our key locations. We've got the common room here. We've got the kitchen. We've got the stables. We've got the larder, and we've got the privy in the outside courtyard. So yeah, covers our enemies here. So devious monsters known as mind flayers created cranium rats by bombarding normal rats with psionic energy. Individually, cranium rats are no smarter than ordinary rats and behave as such. However, if enough cranium rats come together to form a swarm, they merge their minds into a single intelligence with the accumulated memories of all the swarm's constituents. Pretty cool. So yeah, we take a look through, we continue our adventure. There's the upper floor as well as the cellar to deal with, and there's ending the encounter. So if the adventurers free the innkeeper from captivity and rid the inn of rats, they are rewarded with 100 gold pieces. Adventurers who exhume the buried chieftain can claim his magic sword. And there's also a potion of healing to find as well. So yeah, for the DM, it gives you a description of the sword and what benefits it gives to them. And it also helps break down what a creature's stat block is. So we've got the swarm of rats here. And on the other side, the individual cranium rat and the commoner, which will be our little halfling who's locked himself in the loo. So yeah, there's that. So let's take a look then at the character sheets and the introduction to combat book before I give you my final thoughts on this issue. So let's take a quick flick through our introduction to combat. So I haven't read this as I've already got a little bit of experience in combat, but it's pretty handy if you haven't played yet. It takes you through the different stages, so determine any surprise, whether you were snuck up on or whether you sneak up on them. Establish your starting positions, roll for your initiative, take your turns. So you can do stuff like movement. You get to do actions, so attack, cast a spell, dash, help, hide, or disengage. There are things that allow you to do a bonus action, so usually specific skills. And then we go to step 5, then beginning the next round. There are also reactions, which some characters will be able to do specific actions in response to an enemy. So some might have the ability to can avoid provoking the opportunity attack by choosing to disengage action on their turn. For the rest of the turn, their movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. So there we go. Nice little tip there. Next up, we cover hit points and damage. So your hit points are dependent on your starting race. So as we can see, we got 10 hit points there from Krantor, our human. Damage rolls, depending on your... if your attack beats the opponent's armor class, we then roll for damage. So our dagger here is a +6 for attacking and does 1d4 +4 piercing damage there. We have an average of damage as well, coverage, damage resistance, so some creatures might be either vulnerable or even resistant to specific types of damage. How to lose your hit points, so for each damage you take, reduce your hit point cost by 1. If you are dropped to 0, you're unconscious. You must then take death saving throws, which are explained below. Instant death, sometimes you might even be taken out. This is... if the enemy hits them again with a damage of 10 or more, he kills him outright. The first 2 points of damage reduce him to 0 and knock him out. The 8 remaining, because that remaining damage equals or surpasses his hit point total, he will die. Then we have our death saving throws, so whether you can resist dying from your injuries. Hopefully you will be helped up by somebody. Then we have an example of combat here, so we go through each of the turns. Yeah, so it's very good to read through this as you're playing through your first mission. And yeah, then we even cover round 2 there as well, and a top tip there. So pretty cool. So next we'll take a look at our character sheets quickly. So we got Crantor Franax, our human charlatan rogue. So we have a couple of empty boxes. So player name, which you will put your name. And then alignment, we learn about this in a future issue, so we'll leave this blank for now. We have his stats here. So his strength 10, dexterity is 18, so he has a +4 bonus. Constitution is 14, so he has a +2 bonus. Intelligence is 11, wisdom is 10, and charisma is 15. We've got his saving throws here, so he gets +6 to his dexterity saving. He has a proficiency bonus of 2. And then we got his skills here, so he's pretty good at sleight of hand and stealth, persuasion, deception, and acrobatics. He's pretty mediocre. Perception and performance, intimidation and investigation, he's pretty basic on with a +2 there. He has a passive wisdom of 12, and we have his equipment. So armor has light armor, weapons has a handbow, longsword, rapier, short sword, and simple weapons training. Tools, he can use a disguise kit, a forgery kit, and thieves tools. And his languages are common, goblin, and thieves cant. We have his armor class there, so light armor gives him an armor save of 15. He has +4 to his initiative, and he has a movement speed of 30 feet. So that is usually 6 hexes on a map. We have his hit dice here, so 1d8. And we have death saves, successes, and failures. So you make 3 saves before you die. We then have dagger, rapier, and his short bow weapons. So the attack bonus is +6, damage, and any other bonuses there. Then we have his actual money and equipment. So he has leather armor, 2 daggers, a short bow with 20 arrows, a backpack, a disguise kit, thieves tools, a ball bearings bag with 1,000 inside, a bell, 5 candles, a crowbar, a hammer, hooded lantern, 2 oil flasks, 10 piton, 5 days rations, totaling 1 day each, so 5 ration packs, hempen rope of 50 feet, a tinderbox, a water skin, 10 times string, some fine clothes, and a deck of marked cards. And he has 15 gold already. So we got details like his personality traits, his ideals, his bonds, his flaws, some particular feature traits that he may have, such as false identity, sneak attack, thieves cant, and expertise. Then on the back we got more about the character. So he's age 32, 5'9", weighs 150 pounds, brown eyes, white skin, so Caucasian, and his hair is blonde but dyed black to help hide in the shadows better. And here we have a section for spells, which he doesn't have any, so we'll see that on our next character. So next we have a look at Razagar Stormhelm. So she's a hill dwarf and an acolyte and cleric. So yeah, she's very spiritual. She has abilities such as dark vision, disciple of life, dwarven resilience, dwarven toughness. She can spellcast and has stone cunning. We see all her abilities and skills and equipment. And then we got her spells. So she has a spellcasting class, being a cleric. Most of her spells are wisdom based. Her spell save is 13, and she has +5 spell attack bonus. So she has her cantrips, so guidance, sacred flame, and spare the dying. And then she has her first level spells and 2 spell slots to choose from. So yeah, gives you details on how each spell works there, so that's pretty cool. Then we have Arena here. So yeah. Again, much the same as our previous character or characters, but she has a little bit more on the equipment side of things. She has a 1d10 for her hit dice. She can move 35 feet because she's pretty quick for a elf, and an armor class of 16. And finally we have our halfling Lightfoot here. So he's a wizard. He's not as quick as everyone else. He can only move at a speed of 25 feet, armor class of 12. He's brave, he's lucky, he's a halfling. naturally stealthy, a researcher, and he can cast spells because he is a wizard. And then we have his stats there on the back for his spells. So there we have it. Fantastic. So these characters we'll be seeing throughout the game and the collection. And yeah. Right. Well, let's bring everything back in and I'll give you my final thoughts on issue 1. So there we have issue 1. There was a lot of information, but if you break it down, cover each page at a time, you can easily absorb it. Rereading it will help in the future. It's well spread out, easily explained. There are a few things that I would have preferred they explained a little bit better, but I think from a starting point, it's pretty good. You will learn more as the collection expands. Hopefully we get more of these little introduction booklets in future issues. It's nice that it actually covers a couple of turns and helps you, the players, as well as the Dungeon Master, understand how combat actually works. The overview of the collection it's what all collections like this have. It's pretty cool. It explains all the sections that we'll get in future issues as well. The character sheets are fantastic, nicely printed, nice and clear. Everything is explained in easy detail. Even the fine print on the weapon stats you can easily read. Even me with my particularly bad vision, I can still read it nice and clearly. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm looking forward to playing through the scenarios at some point, but those are going to take quite a while to play. I'm going to have to figure out a few things like how I'm going to play, how I'm going to record, etc. Hopefully the next issue won't be as long as this video. It's nearly 50 minutes long. So I'm hoping I can... I won't have as much to cover in future issues because I won't have to go through character sheets, background, the collection, etc. So yeah, issue 1 here was $1.99 in stores, and you get a good amount for your money there. You get the dice, which usually I get dice sets at my local gaming store for around £4 for a basic set of these dice. You can get sets that have 4d6, which are the more common dice to be even rolled multiple times. So yeah, you can get those, though they do cost a little bit more. I believe the dice sets you get in the starter set and essential set include 4d6 and then one of every other dice. So pick those up if you feel like you want to expand a little bit more. I believe the starter set has red dice and the essential set has blue dice. I'll have to get mine out and take a look, but yeah. Not much more to say, really. I think it's fantastic. Even if you just get this one issue, it's good value. It's going to give you a lot of information to help you get started. If you're going to collect this as part of a group, you can give certain sections to your DM and they keep them. You can give certain sections to specific players who play a specific character. And yeah, it's really good. If you have got a group of players and you want to help improve your skills at playing, even if you're experienced, this is great for you. It's great for beginners. It's just all round a pretty good value magazine. Future-wise, they really are going to have to include something fantastic to warrant the $8.99 price tag of each issue, though. I'm probably going to give it until the end of the subscription gifts, so my 7th delivery, which puts me in at roughly the first 20 issues. Depending on what it's like after that, I may cancel, but I have actually had some comments saying they want to see the full collection covered, which if people are willing to support me and
give me such wonderful feedback, then yeah, I might go through the collection. But I'm doing this partly because I enjoy role-playing games, and partly because it's becoming apparent that you guys like to see this sort of content on my channel. So if you do, please do consider subscribing to me on Patreon, as it will encourage me to keep going with this collection after that planned initial stopping point of issue 20. But there we have it. I've rambled on long enough. This video is going to be probably over an hour once I edit it together and put in titles. So thank you all if you have stuck with me to the very end. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time for more mad content and roll those crits. Thank you and goodbye.